Today I am going to recap a 1977 drama movie. Name: That Obscure Object of Desire. So let's begin. A wealthy man, Matthew, rushes to the train station asking for a train leaving for Paris that evening. The attendant tells him there is no train that evening, but he has some free spaces on his train for the following day. Matthew books the train, takes the ticket, and leaves for his home, where he meets his help. His help tells him his girlfriend Conchita has left, and she left about a few minutes before his arrival. As he enters, he sees the house scattered, and his help shows him some bloody throw pillow, which he says is just some nosebleed and should burn everything up. He also shows him some of Conchita's luggage, including her shoe, meaning she left there barefooted. He instructs his help to burn all of Conchita's belongings at their home and prepare for their journey back to Paris the next day. The following day, as they take the bus to the train station, they witness a terrorist attack. The victim is a man who enters his car and asks his driver to drive. As the driver kickstarts the engine, the car catches fire immediately. Matthew, as well as the other passerby, stands to look at the scene, and Matthew expresses that it is a crazy terrorist attack before telling his driver to drive off to the train station. As he enters the train, he meets a woman and her young daughter Isabelle. The woman talks to him and she says they probably live around each other in Paris, as he looks familiar. Another man, Vincent, joins their table. Matthew says he recognizes Vincent as he once saw him in his cousin's room. Vincent accepts the possibility as he knows Matthew's cousin and he is a magistrate. Another passenger joins their seat. He is a dwarf. Professor Isabelle attempts to help him sit down, but he tells her he doesn't need her help. The train leaves late and Matthew leaves his seat to smoke. As he walks towards a balcony, he sees Conchita approaching the train. He calls the attendant and gives him some money. As Conchita sees him, she goes to him with bandages and several injuries on her body. She apologizes and asks him not to go, but before she talks, he pours a bucket of water on her head and returns to the train while she goes to take the second car on the train. As he returns to his seat, it's obvious his seatmates have seen what has happened, but no one attempts to talk about it first until Isabelle talks. Isabella asks what the lady may have done, and her mother tries to control her question, but Matthew says the question isn't far-fetched, as the poor girl has seen. It isn't something an average person should do. The dwarf passenger tells Matthew he wishes to know what led to this situation, as he is a psychologist and it will be good for his research. Matthew replies that at least it's better if he pours water on the lady rather than killing her. All he wishes for is that when Conchita dies, she will never be forgiven. Vincent also inquires to know what had happened between he and Conchita, because according to him, Matthew doesn't look like an irrational man and there has to be a reason behind that action. Matthew starts the story. He explains that he visited his cousin after a case that deals with revolutionary terrorists that bombed a church, killing about 12 people, and as his cousin finishes, they leave for dinner at his home. As he reaches home, he notices his new maid, Conchita. At first glance at Conchita, you will know she is not experienced in being a maid, and he wishes to make things easier for her. Conchita serves him wine during the meal and she serves it in the wrong glass. He corrects her. So that night he asks Conchita to bring wine to his room. As she brings it, he engages her in a conversation and asks her what she does, and before she tells him she worked at an office as an attendant. At a bar which she stopped because she isn't used to the atmosphere. She says her father is late and she works because of her mother. She concludes that she hates working, and if it's not because she needs to make money, she would prefer to dance, as dancing is her hobby. He asks about her age and she tells him she is 18. She looks older than her age, but he asks her what she thinks of him and then goes towards her back to kiss her ears. She stands up and leaves. The following day, during his breakfast, he asks his help about Conchita and he tells her she left that morning without saying anything. He asks if any contact number is left behind, and he realizes that his help only hired Conchita after a new advert and he knows nothing about her. 3 months later, while he is on a business trip to Switzerland, he falls trapped by 3 men who ask him for 800 francs and threaten him with a knife. He gives them the money and goes to his seat. Then Conchita comes to meet him. She says she is on tour with her friends and the boys who took his money are her friends and their agent has disappeared from them, so they do not have money. She returns the money to him, but they do not have money now. She keeps mentioning money, that he gives her some more for their upkeep as her mother leaves. Conchita takes him to the jail, where she tells him she knows what he wants, but she isn't the type of girl. She asks him to bring a sweet box and seductively feeds him the sweet. He gets captivated and keeps busy time for about a month. He visits one day and she undresses in front of him. He goes to touch her, but she removed his hands. They go to sit after she dresses back and she kisses him and sits on his legs. However, as he touches her, she refuses his advances. He reminds her that she was the one who sat on his legs and kissed him, but she says she did it because she loves him, but he doesn't love her. She tells him she has never been with any man and doesn't want to give herself to any man except her husband, so he calls for her mother. He tells her he loves Conchita, but he can't marry her yet. All he wants to start living with her, and her mother should help him by bringing her to his house in 2 days. He gives her mother a full envelope of money. He returns home and starts preparing for her arrival. Unfortunately, he receives a letter from her telling him he wants to buy her and she will never see him again. He visits her home, where he finds out they have relocated completely. 2 months later, he's a shadow of himself. He meets his cousin at a restaurant, where he tells him he just wants to meet her again, and if he gets an opportunity to meet her again, he won't even ask for intercourse or romance again. As they leave the restaurant and go for their coat, he sees her as the attendant. He instantly talks to her and asks her why she left like that. She tells him he sees her like furniture that he could just find, but she isn't a furniture. Her manager gets angry at her for speaking to a customer and she gets mad and resigns, asking to drink with Matthew at the same bar, but the manager refuses to serve her that to visit another restaurant where they eat and drink. Then she follows him home. They kiss in the room, and as he attempts to go to the next stage, she sees a portrait in the room. She asks who the woman is and he tells her it's his late wife who died 7 years ago. So she says she can't make out with him in that room and they should prepare another room. They prepare another room and she unstraps herself. He touches her breasts, but she insists she doesn't want to have intercourse with him. He tries to force her into it, but he finds out she is putting a leather short that is difficult to remove. He gives up. That night they start living together, but without doing anything. She meets with his cousin too. On the other hand, Matthew refuses to marry her, because if he does, he will surrender his last weapon, which he doesn't want to, and he is okay with just seeing her. They return home that night and they pursue her again, but she refuses as they argue about it. They hear gunshots as a result of some gangsters outside, and as she checks through the windows, he tells him she's scared and that she needs to leave. She leaves the room and goes to call her male friend in the other room. Unfortunately, they mistakenly break the jar and Matthew realizes someone else is in the room. He finds them both and he asks the boy to leave his house, but Conchita says she will leave immediately her friend leaves, so he sends them out that night. He goes back to his cousin to mourn his lost lover. His cousin advises him to travel out to forget her, and he asks his cousin also to do something. As a result, his cousin sends police to eject Conchita and her mother away from Paris. Matthew tells his help that they will be traveling to a country he picks by impulse. He picks Singapore, but changes his mind and goes to save Ian because he knows that's where Conchita is from. He eventually finds her and saves Ian, and they rekindle their teasing relationship. She takes him to the bar she works and leaves him, telling him she is going to rest, and he meets one of her friends. He asks for the way to the toilet, and when he goes upstairs he sees her dancing naked for some time, and the anger really scatters the gathering and angers her, but they settle it immediately. They continue their relationship. When he buys a house for her, she asks him to visit that night, and when he gets there she refuses to open the door and makes him kiss her feet from outside. She tells him she hates him and she hates it whenever he touches her, and she only wants his money. She tells him to leave, and when he refuses she brings him in and makes out with him while he watches. On his way home, his car gets hijacked from him. The following day, Conchita visits again. This time he takes her to a room where he hits her repeatedly as she begs him and says the intercourse the night before was made up in the guy's case. That's the scene before he went to the train station. As he finishes his story to his seatmates, Conchita arrives and pours him a bucket of water before running to the bathroom. He follows her there and they drop off the train together, leaving the train station together too. They rekindle their relationship and visit a mall in Paris, and as they walk out of the mall, a bomb explodes behind them and kills him, and the movie ends here. So I hope you enjoy the video, so click any video of 3 of them and enjoy next, and don't forget to subscribe our channel and hit the like button. Thank you for watching. See you soon.